No GPS, no rules, no shame. Just a funky little quad and a soul train frame. We fly that flow. Spread that gap. No time to nap. No time to nap. Hit that road. Funk and control. Bounce that wall. We fly it all. We fly it all. Funky and free, we fly indoors, we fly with glee. Whoop it, loop it, groove it, move it, bounce it, flip it, funk it, rip it, fly that soul, don't lose control. Tiny whoop love gonna make you whole. I thread the needle through the vinyl stacks, bounce off the mirror ball, never looking back. My quad's got soul, it's got style, it's got sass. It dips through the incense like a blast from the past. I'm flying figure eights through the lava lamp glow, dodging house plants like a funky pro. My whoops got rhythm, my sticks got heat. I'm the pilot of the party with the grooviest beat. I loop through the hallway, I dive by the broom. I'm the disco ghost in your living room. I hit that split that's over grandma's chair. She just claps and says, boy, you got flair. I'm flying freestyle with a velvet touch. My quad so smooth it don't need a clutch. From the shag rug to the ceiling fan, I'm the funky little fly with a master plan. The curtains dancing on the breeze, freestyle funk in my living room with ease. Tiny whoop magic bumping every wall. I'm the James Brown of flight, can't stop at all.
What's up, friends? My name's Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to hell. Welcome to Sunday Q&A. Today we're going to be taking a look at the three, I think it's safe to say, the three most popular 75mm motor-to-motor 1.6-inch prop frames. The BetaFPV Air75 V2. The good old happy model Mobula7 V4, and 1S frames, by the way, 1S frames, and the new Cockroach. Oh no, Cockroach75 LiteAF. I shook the frame too hard, and all the itty bitty little screws fell out of it. We're going to weigh these frames as well as some of these 450 and 550 and 580 and 680 and 480 mAh batteries to add to the weights spreadsheet that all of you beautiful patrons who pay $3 or more a month, which is only like 20 cents a live stream, to have access to. Here's the LiteAF frame. Be very gentle with it because the screws are falling out of it. There's the box for it. So yeah, we're going to weigh some stuff today. We're going to black box log some stuff today. We're going to see if we can get to the bottom of why this build has a really nasty vibration on the pitch axis. Over on my Discord earlier today, somebody actually posted, hey, brand new build. Oh, I really fucked up this time. The whole frame flipped over, and it threw all 12 of the screws out. God damn it, dude! All right, hold on. Jesus. Yeah, we're going to try to get to the bottom of this Matrix AIO, the new Matrix AIO, which does not have a front mounting point. Which could be a part of the problem, right? So we've we've got an AIO that we've got an AIO that there we go. An AIO that's mounted on the bottom, that's mounted on the right and on the left, but it's not mounted up here in the front. So it looks like that. And so the AIO might be vibrating around on the pitch axis. Or it's the frame, or it's the curvature of the earth, or it's any number of other crazy weird things. So we are going to move one of those AIOs around into two different frames to see what's going on with them and to see if we can gain a little bit more knowledge on that kind of situation, because this build has it bad. The person that posted on my Discord is in a 65mm frame. I have not done any custom 65mm builds with this new Matrix AIO yet. I've only done this 75mm build. I've found all but one of these screws. Shitting hell. Where's the last one? And so, I don't know, maybe BetaFPV is doing something from the factory with, well, we can check that. Let's hook up the, I don't think I remember seeing any notch filter or gyro or D-term notch filters, but it's worth looking. Dude, come on. Where's the... There's one more screw. Where just be cool. This is the second time that just one screw. This happened to me yesterday. Just one single screw vanished on me. Yeah, so we can check that. That's actually a good thing to take a look at. I'll plug in the bind and fly that they sent me, and we'll see if there's any kind of like a notch filter on there. This shirt is available over on my Teespring shop. Show some love and get yourself an FPV shirt. Dude, hold on. Let me just find this. Is it just me? Can anyone else not function when they've lost something that's right in front of them? That's like obviously right in front of them. I just can't. I'll cancel this whole goddamn live stream to find this screw. I don't give a shit. It's here. It's right here. It has to be right here. It couldn't have gone far. I just can't look right at it. Is that it? Nope. That's a dead bug. Come on, man. It exploded here, and then all the screws went this way. Where did it go? You guys got to tell me. Tell me where it went. I know you saw it. It happened on the little down-facing camera. Ever wonder what mental illness looks like? Here you go! All right. Let's, ready? 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 Here's what many, many years of therapy look like. Ready? Watch this. Watch this. Check this out. Okay, hope you're ready for this. Here it is. Here's what that looks like. Okay. And there it is. That's what that looks like. I have extras. I know that it's here. It's talking shit with its little M1.2 by 2 fucking metal mouth. Oh, it's gonna drive me mad. I've got to get these screws put. Well, maybe I won't put them. I like to load these frames up with the screws to make putting the motors on a little bit easier, But if they're going to keep falling out this easily, then when I go to put the motors on, it's just going to happen again. So on this AIr75 frame, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave these screws out, because otherwise I'll just keep spilling them all over the floor and desk. Eventually, that screw and the screw that disappeared the other night will appear. But they will not appear right now. On the intro, you were watching the Maxx Frames M2 build. That was the 5th battery that I flew yesterday to do part 2 of the Pro Turtle 2.5-inch series of edits where I run different motors and different propellers on it. On part 1, we tested RC & Power 1003 10,000 kV motors and old RCX 1102 7800 kV motors. With the 3 different, well, part 1 we tested 4 different propellers, but one of the propellers, the HQ biblades, were a total fail. The other 3 propellers were okay. Emax Avan Rush, Gemfan 2540, and then my favorites so far, the Gemfan 2512s. On this part 2 of the edit that I'll hopefully get done this week, we tested these VCI 1103 11,000 kV motors, which are awesome. Definitely my preferred motors so far, with those 3 different propellers that I just called out. I'm not going to bother running the biblades because they're just out of balance and useless. So the last battery that I flew was on a 2-inch build, to give a little bit of a comparison of bigger. These weigh almost the same. 53 grams dry for the 2.5-inch build, 50 grams dry for the 2-inch build. 2-inch build is on 1202.5s, very similar to 1103. And so yeah, we'll have in the end of that video a little bit of a comparison of 2.5-inch versus 2-inch. The difference is more subtle than I thought it would be. The 2.5-inch setup is great. You get like an extra minute of runtime, which is pretty cool. Not quite, almost. You get some different propeller options. Sometimes, so like 1.8-inch builds, for example, right? I don't like 1.8-inch builds because there aren't any really good propellers. And so sometimes we'll switch to like we'll switch a 1.8-inch build to a 1.6 or 2-inch build so that we have access to better propellers. And so, but a 2-inch versus a 2.5-inch, there are good propellers on both of these. But if there's a specific propeller that you really want to run, that's only, so, okay, here's an example. 2-inch, we have a good biblade. The Gemfan 2015. That is a well-balanced, durable biblade. 2.5-inch, we don't. There is not a 2.5-inch biblade that is durable and properly balanced. And so, if you're absolutely desperate, ooh, good, yeah! Right in the middle of my keyboard. There it is. See? It just takes like 10 plus years of, more than that, of therapy. If you stop looking for something, you'll always pretty quickly find it. Not that I really learned that in therapy, but that's just, learning about how your brain works. So yeah, if you're desperate to have an open prop outdoor biblade setup, build a 2-inch because there's a good propeller available. It's not the best propeller available. It doesn't have T-mount. It doesn't have provisions for T-mount, which is kind of annoying. But these 2-inch builds, you can build them out to be light enough where it might kind of survive. But yeah, on like a 2.5, there just is not a biblade. And so in some cases, we'll change from one size to the other just to get a specific prop. But yeah, in the end of this part 2 review, you guys will get to see the difference in momentum between the 2.5-inch setup, which you're going to watch me fly 3, maybe 4 batteries on in a row with the different propellers, and then 2-inch, which is almost the exact same weight. I flew them all on the Tiny Whoop 2S 450 mAh BT 3.0 batteries. So they're pretty much the same weight. I can definitely feel it when I'm flying it. I'll be interested to see if you guys can tell just watching it. I stole that from Mighty Carmods. Go subscribe to their channel. This is going to be the smallest check out my mailbag ever. I think the only place that you can get these Mobula7 V4 frames anymore is the evil Amazon, and they're $10 each, which really sucks a bag of donkeys. So if you want to do a 1.6-inch 2S build, in my opinion, get yourself some Mobula7 V4 frames now, because I don't know if they're not making them anymore or what, but these are the ones. I really, really, really like these frames. You can make, with certain AIOs, you can make the Mobula7 V4 frame work. It's not as durable, but it is the duct support design is more aerodynamic. But there are only a couple of, I only know of one AIO that you can't even get anymore, the BetaFPV AIO, that will work with that setup. If there is another AIO that the USB port is short enough to clear when you modify this frame, somebody let me know, because I know a bunch of you guys have done it. But yeah, the Mobula7 V4 frame looks like this. So we've got a little bit of extra material here that makes it a little bit less aerodynamic, right? It blocks more thrust, but it makes it stronger. And what I really like is this right here. It's got this hole in the back of the frame that the BT 3.0 perfectly drops down into. And then when the batteries sit in here, if you have a really hard nose-in crash, the battery won't totally eject out and become a dingleberry. So I really, really, really like these Mobula7 V4 frames. And yeah, when I noticed that they weren't in stock anywhere, I scrambled and bought a few of them, because I want to, if they go away forever, right, which is something that happens in FPV, I want to have enough of them for a while. And then I also restocked on drill bits. Those of you ordering from my Etsy store to support me, thank you so much. One of the things that you guys buy the most often are the 0.99 millimeter and 1.47 millimeter drill bits. I'm currently trying to figure out a way of ordering more of these at a time. It's been really difficult to find these drill bits at exactly 0.99 millimeters and exactly 1.47 millimeters. I would love to find a 1.48 millimeter, because the 1.47 is on some motors, it can be a little bit too small. You can make it work. These drill bits are important because none of our propellers are perfectly sized on the inner diameter. And so when you put that, and then the motors that we've got have slightly different thicker or thinner motor shafts. The connection point between the motor shaft and the bell of the motor is laser welded, and it's very easy to break that laser weld when you're putting on or taking off propellers, which ruins the motor. And so these drill bits will allow you to just really quickly correctly size the inner diameter of whatever propeller that you're about to put on whatever motor, so that you can put it on and take it off without ruining the motor, without ruining your fingers, without ruining your life. So yeah, I've bought so many drill bits over the last couple years to find ones that are the exact right size. At the moment, 1.47 is the best that I can find. Like I said, if I can find 1.48, great. And these are all measured on my specific digital caliper here, which is like a $20 one. So, you know, you guys can't really help me with this because your caliper is probably not going to be exactly, you know, tuned exactly like mine, especially to the 100th. Is that the 100th? 10th? Yeah, to the 100th. But the 0.99 millimeter ones are great. And so, yeah, I literally have to buy these drill bits like 10 at a time, but I'm trying to find somewhere to get them 100 at a time so that I don't have to keep ordering them. But thank you to all of you that support me by ordering stuff from the Etsy store. It has really helped me get through these cold months where I don't really get any outdoor flying gigs because nobody wants to be outside in the cold. So yeah, there you go. Bad at Drones was first in the chat. Sporty, Doc Holiday, Burlack, Spaceman, Spiff, We Bleed FPV. What's up, Zotek? Doc Holiday, Uriel, Dagool, Fizz, Uke, Swimair, Timmons. Shout out to Timmons for designing and printing me this amazingly useful. What is this? An 802, right, Timmons? This is a BetaFPV 802 with my logo dropped on the side. I swear to God, I use this almost every single live stream to explain, you know, stator size, the way that the motor shaft works, where it bends, when it bends, how the C-clips work. This is like so incredibly handy. And yeah, Timmons is an absolute rock star for designing and printing that. I didn't even know. It just showed up one day. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be the most useful thing ever. And then the other super useful tool lately I've been using a little bit is this. My dad actually printed this, 3D printed this a 1,000 years ago at the college in New Jersey, the college that I went to, the better part of, oh my God, I went to college 25 years ago? That can't be right. Holy shit, that's awful. TCNJ got 3D printers early, big, expensive ones. And my dad was one of the folks in charge of getting them set up and keeping them running. And he printed this out forever ago and then just found it and thought it would be useful for me, which it is, because I can tell you guys about inner diameter, outer diameter, inner race, outer race, and the individual ball bearings. So yeah, I've got a couple of really, really, really handy visuals for you all, thanks to cool people. Fly High FPV is here as well. Jimmy Sprinkles, Dagool, Doc Holiday, Uke, Timmons, Phil Bradley, Midnight Rider, Tanky, Frank Dr. Nicholas. Did I get everybody? I think I got everybody. Bryce Stevenson, Bad at Drones, Cronut, Arthur Farall, Break Faded, P Money. I'm just gonna go with Angel. It might be Angelica though. Angelica. I think it's Angelica. And then Sporting. I think I got you all. If I didn't get you, I'll get you next time, I promise. Cool. Look at that. 2 live streams in a row with mailbags. Friday's was the Fly High package, and today was this little Amazon shipment. It also drives me insane to have to buy these drill bits from Amazon, so I'm looking for an eBay reseller with the exact right size that I can buy a bigger quantity from. Let's see if BetaFPV has a notch filter to help with these vibrations on pitch that I've been seeing on the Matrix AIO that doesn't have the front mounting point. Uriel says, nice shirt. Thank you, dude. Frank says, I join and CiottiFPV has lost a screw. Tanky says, probably one of the motor magnets got it. I always look at motor magnets first, and lately it is not paid off. But yeah, motor magnets are notorious for eating screws. So we're gonna go into PID tuning, and then we're gonna go to filter settings. These are the wacky. This is the wacky tune that this AIr65 comes with. It works really well though. Sure enough, there it is. I didn't notice that, yo. I didn't notice that. I'll be damned. And they have it on there as a gyro notch filter. Okay. So it's a known thing. When you remove, so this is what a normal AIO looks like. And so the frame is going to mount top, bottom, left, and right. And then the whole frame is going to move around, right? When you take off the front mounting point, now you've only got it mounted here, here, and here, and we have it mounted on soft mounts, and the frame is plastic, and so the AIO is going to be able to wiggle like that, and that's what we're seeing. That's why we're seeing BetaFPV putting a gyro notch filter with a center point of 210 and a low cutoff of 180, and then that high cutoff is going to swing up to 240. So that's what we're seeing here. And then on this guy, let's compare where I had to put it on this guy. This will actually tell us exactly where the resonance on pitch is coming from. So on a 65 millimeter frame, it's 210 to 180. Now let's see where it sits on a 75 millimeter frame. 210 to 180. I used black box to dial this in, and then we'll see if the frames have any positive effect on it. 210 to 180. Here we go. Here's my custom build. And I did it as a D-term notch, and it is a little bit different. Ooh, it's significantly different. On the 75 millimeter frame, it's way different. 144 down to 126. Those are... Hold on. That was madness. I'm horrified that I had done that. And actually, I want to move this up. Now, it was working fine. We checked out it the other day. It was working fine. So yeah, that's a known thing. So whoever that was on Discord, it was Lux Morgano. Here, I'm gonna I'm talking about this on the stream literally right now. Yeah, so Lux Morgano, you need to put a gyro notch filter or a D-term notch filter around that vibration. It's a pitch vibration. We're about to see it. We're going to try a couple of different frames on this build to see if that has any effect on this. I'm going to fly one battery real quick on this frame, and just as like kind of a baseline. And then we're going to dive in. We're going to try two different frames. We're going to see if that has any effect on where that vibration sits. And then we'll know. But yeah, if you remove the front mounting point of the AIO, like BetaFPV has done, and the reason that they did that is for durability. If you make, so the AIO is a structural part of a tiny whoop, especially now that the frames are getting much lighter and more flimsy. Okay, and so if you're going to use the AIO as a structural member, there's going to be, the other thing that they've been doing for lightness is making the AIO thinner and thinner and thinner. And so at some point, the AIO is going to become so thin that during crashes where we bend the frame, it's going to break the AIO. These PCBs have itty bitty little traces. They're like tiny little wires basically in the different layers of the PCB. And those itty bitty little traces, if you take that PCB and you taco that thing, you can break those itty bitty little traces in there. And if you break the trace going to the receiver, your receiver will stop working, or to the VTX, your VTX will stop working. If we look at how most of the old Air AIOs, which were very lightweight, failed, it was from the receivers not working anymore, or the VTX is not working anymore. And so on this new version of the Air AIOs, to get around that, they've removed that front mounting point. They've also made the PCB a little bit thicker, so that it is stronger, but they've removed that front mounting point so that when we get into these nose-in crashes, which are, you know, the most often ones, right? We're flying forward and we hit something and it bends everything up. The PCB can flex up and down instead of being held down front and rear and the PCB flexing. So the frame, if the PCB is here and the frame's here, the frame can flex and the PCB won't. Whereas if you have it mounted front and rear, they're going to flex together, and that's going to break the PCB. The other way to get around this, like the Happy Model 2G4, is to have a big, thick PCB, a big, strong PCB that can take all of that abuse. The 2G4 is certainly heavier than the Air AIOs, but it's incredibly durable. And so, you know, in the quest to lose weight, things become more fragile. That is typically sort of just the way it is in all things. It's certainly like that in motorsports. You know, shave a bunch of weight on the car, you go to lightweight control arms, lightweight this, lightweight that, and it becomes more fragile. It's just sort of a part of the game. And so for you to find your perfect build, you have to balance these things. You have to balance making it as light as possible, but also durable enough for you. If you've got all the money in the world and all the time in the world, screw it. Make it super lightweight and not durable at all, and just fix it all the time. And then, you know, everywhere in between. If you don't want to spend all that time, like me, doing repairs, you make it really durable and it ends up being a little bit heavier and you just kind of deal with it. And so, yeah, that's a big part of building your perfect tiny whoop. I do my best to crash a good amount to show you how to build durable stuff, because it is really nice to have something that you can hammer on and not have to constantly fix. But, you know, it's on you to kind of take it from there. Make sense? Boy, I hope so. Sure would love my allergies to stop being an asshole. But, alas, life with allergies sucks a bag of donkeys. Can you go in your home? Are you too good for your home? Answer me. There we go. Got it. It's fine. Everything's cool. Everybody relax. Uriel says, I have a bin on my knees for a Lego block today. That's a really good idea. I whistle and ask my spirit guide. It's true. There's a good old-fashioned Uriel post. Love it. Dagul says, it'll show up when you're not looking for the lost screw anymore. That's it. Uriel says, magnet. I do need to get a big magnet. Bad at Drone says, I had a small 3D print fly off the plate today. I spent 15 minutes looking for it, when it only takes 6 minutes to print another. Oh, that's maddening. I love it. Sporny says, if I ask nicely and promise not to tell anybody, would you tell me where to get these drill bits? At the moment, my props either fly off or won't get on. Yeah, message me. Because it does change. Like, I have to order them from one place, and then they'll go out of stock, and then I got to find them somewhere else. But, yeah. Euro says, ask your dad about ISO norm H6 and P7. It's too much to type. ISO norm A6 and P7. What on earth is that? Break Faded says, I use a TPU canopy by Spugno and the Air 2 AIO, and it stiffens those front 3 mounts enough to kill that vibration. Spugno. I want to see what that looks like. I'm going to make an assumption that that's on Thingiverse, because that's where most of the FPV 3D prints are. Spugno. Spugno mount. How do I find the Spugno mount? Let me know. I didn't want to quit Betaflight Configurator. That was silly. And then, oh, look at that. I'm caught all up. I'm all caught up, rather. Cool. Let's, oh, Lux is in the chat. Perfect. Let's get to work here. Let's dive on in. Well, hold on. First, let's, no, we're going to do the weights all at once. I've got all of the different batteries. We're going to weigh these, and then we're going to weigh all 3 of these frames with the screws in them, but I've got to get this taken apart first. So let's get the first quick flight out of the way. With this, I've already black box tuned this. Here is the black box log for this. So this is going to be January, April, January, April. Where's the log for this? Oh, tell me I didn't throw that log away. No. I'll take a log. I think I might have 75 Pro, 1S walk snail. Oh, that ain't it. I must have trashed the log. That's okay. We'll take a black box log on this, and then fly the rest of the battery, and yeah, have a look. I'm gonna do all these flights on the brand new BetaFPV Lava V2 480s, and we're also gonna talk about how these batteries fit in each one of these frames. This AIr75 V2 frame fits the batteries really nicely. They're nice and snug in here. They're not like impossible to put in there. You don't have to use any E6000 to make this better. And so great work, BetaFPV, making this frame fit these batteries correctly. Just for the sake of argument, right? That's the 480. I've got all of the most popular 450 plus big boy batteries here. Here's the 580. It fits exactly the same. All these batteries are the same size. But just to prove it to you, there's the 680. Oh, actually, there is one battery that's a little bit smaller. This is the Tiny Whoop 451S with the little plug on it. This one is a little tiny bit smaller, but it still fits perfectly in here. Here's the old school Lava 450. Fits ever so slightly tighter, but it's still totally fine. Here's the old school Lava 550. Same deal. Here's the super old school BetaFPV non-Lava 550. Fits a little bit better, just like the Lava V2s actually. And then the other really popular battery is the Weebleed. And again, fits perfectly. So all of these wider batteries fit pretty much exactly the same in these different frames. So I'm just going to be using the 480s as an example. I'm not going to fly into these other batteries. So if this 480 battery is loose in one of these other two frames, you know that all these batteries are going to be loose. Cool. So let's get this first black box log going. I have previously logged and dialed that D-term filter in. When we switch the frame, we are going to turn that D-term filter off initially, and then we're going to log it, and we're going to see where that pitch vibration has moved, because that's going to tell us the frame's effect on the AIO wobbling around on the pitch axis. Make sense? FPV says his AIr75 V2 frame has taken a beating and is holding up well. Love that. There's a bunch of people on Reddit that say that the AIr75 V2 frame is horrible and it breaks immediately. Shows you about how much people on Reddit and or Facebook know, which is usually about nothing. We're also going to switch the camera out to the this is the Weebleed Bleed Eye, which uses a similar lens to the Pinch, where it's got a pretty normal field of view here, but the center of the image is kind of like zoomed out a little bit in the same way that the Tiny Whoop Pinch Cam is. A lot of the racers love that. I don't love it. I don't not love it. But yeah, we're going to get to see a different camera here when we swap to the last frame. So here we go. This is the current build. This is using the GEP RC 1002 25,000 kV motors. We're going to go right upstairs, and we're going to get the black box log going. So when the OSD disappears, I'm logging. So when you're doing a log, you want to cycle the throttle up and down a bunch. Make sure you have some zero throttle, some full throttle. And so you're going to do a whole bunch of these throttle stabs. You don't want to hit anything on a log. So you want to fly very carefully. Then you want to cruise around a little bit. Oh, God. So just cruise at different speeds. It's really helpful to do these outside. All right. Cruise fast, cruise slow. And then you want to do a couple flips and rolls. At least one in each direction. Try to end the flip and roll. Shit, I think I just hit the couch. It shouldn't matter. It wasn't like a big, horrible crash. So now we're just going to rip the rest of this battery. The OSD is back, so we're not logging anymore. Woo, boy. These GEP-RC 1002 25,000s are mega powerful. And so that's going to make tuning this thing even more important. Because these motors are so powerful, they have crazy response time. And that makes tuning even more important. I usually don't fly these guys in the basement here, but we'll try. They're just too heavy and too fast for my old ass. Oh, God. See that? Like, it wouldn't... I had angle on it, but... I can't even get out of the goddamn dive tunnel. I had a little bit of angle on it to try to avoid hitting the wall, but it was so heavy that it just kept sliding and sliding and sliding. You could get used to that, or you can build something that's better for flying inside, which is lighter and on smaller props. Dog is guarding me from the evil Tiny Whoop. Look at that fluff. Oh, yeah! Yeah, Teddy boy! Oh, my God. Oh, man, I really... despise flying these 75mm motor-to-motor rigs inside the house. It's just not fun at all. This is an absolute blast outside, though. This is so much fun outside. All right, so there we go. 3 minutes. I was just trying to limp it along to 3 minutes. And we've got a good log on here. So, we flipped it into black box mode. We cruised around. We only hit the couch once. Maybe I didn't. And so now we've got the log stored on here. So, we're going to plug this into Betaflight. We're going to go into Betaflight. And we're going to grab the log off of it. So, plug it in through USB. Fire up Betaflight, connect, and now we can see that we've got a log. I had emptied this out, but now we've got some data on there. All right, so we're going to go to black box right here. And these are the settings that you want for the black box configuration. You want 2 kilohertz, half, and then gyro scaled. Sometime on the newer versions of Betaflight, this is going to be called gyro unfiltered, I believe it is. Those are the settings that you want so that it takes a good log with where it's measuring vibrations all the way up to 2 kilohertz. And then we can see here, used space 4 megabytes. So this is our log that we just did. So what we're going to do is we're going to click Activate Mass Storage Mode. This is going to make it show up on your desktop as a hard drive in a second here. Well, it's there, but it's below the 7,000 windows that I have opened. We're going to go New Tab, and here it is, BetaFLT, BETAFLT. It's just showing up as a hard drive. So we're going to click it, and here are all the logs on there. You want to look for the log that's the biggest. This one is 6 kilobytes, 6 kilobytes, 18 kilobytes. None of those are big enough. This fourth one is 4.1 megabytes. That's the correct one. We're going to drag that onto the hard drive. For some reason, they're locked, so you're going to have to unlock them. But first, just copy it over. Sporny says, have you seen this Sky with 2Ks 35, AOS 35 frame with inbuilt naked GoPro and optional ducts? Sub 250 also, might build one myself. Also thought about inbuilt GoPro thing. I have not seen that. Interesting. All right, so we pulled the file across here. Now we can, from an order of operation standpoint, oh, for Christ's sakes, I didn't mean to close that window. From an order of operations standpoint, you should now eject the eject that hard drive, and so now you can unplug. In order to get it to not be a hard drive anymore and connect to Beta Flight again, you have to unplug it from USB and plug it back in. Now connect again, go to Black Box again, and click Erase Flash. This takes a second, so get this going while you can wait. Erase the flash. While you're doing that, grab the file that you copied over, do Get Info, and unlock it. So click that to unlock it, and then name it something that makes sense, because you're going to end up with a bunch of these logs. And so we're going to name this AIr75 frame Matrix V2. AIr75 frame... No, AIr75 V2 frame, Matrix V2. Cool? So now we've got that log. That is a log with the... Damn it. I meant to do that log with the... that filter turned off. We're going to do another log real quick. So that's going to be the clean log with that D-term notch filter added in to take care of that pitch vibration. Now we're going to come in here. This is actually nice because I need to do this before the next part of this, which is swapping the frame. So this actually totally works. We're going to come in here, and I'm going to turn this D-term notch filter off. This D-term notch filter is necessary to keep this thing happy. You're about to see in a minute how bad it is without this. So we're going to turn this off. We're going to save it. I'm going to leave everything else the same. The rest of these settings are like totally fine. This is a tune. This is a filter tune that'll work on most clean rigs. This is a clean rig. These motors are clean. The props are clean. This should be fine. If I put this filter tune and PID tune on any other AIO and dropped it into this setup, it would be completely fine. This issue that we're dealing with this pitch vibration is, I'm pretty sure, because of this new school Matrix Air 2 AIO not having that front connection point. I don't think this is because of the frame. The reason why is that BetaFPV is putting a gyro notch filter around this same frequency on the bind-in flies. And there's lots of people that are kind of dealing with this as well. So away we go. Click save again because I never trust it. Disconnect. I'm totally paranoid, so I'm going to reconnect, come in here, and make sure it's there. Okay, so the D-term notch filter is off. Shitting hell. It erased the values that it was at, but that's okay. We know how to get those values again. So we're good. We're going to do one more quick log with without that notch filter on there. And this is going to be a quick one because it's going to try to fly away. And so I'm going to use the same battery so that it sits in there the same. It's the same weight. It's the same everything. And then we're going to swap this frame and see if there's any impact. So here we go. I'm going to limp this thing upstairs. I might not even be able to do that. It might be trying to fly away before that. But that's okay. We're going to get a little bit of a log here to look at where that vibration is. And then we'll see if it moves around on the different frames. Ready? Here we go. So let's see if it just completely flies away. Yep. Okay. All right, hold on. Just chill. Just chill, little fella. I got it. Give me a second to get the log switch turned on. Jesus fuck. Okay, hold on. Log switch is on. I'm zero throttle. It's getting hot. All right, log switch is off. Holy hell, dude. Okay, so we got a log. I was zero throttle that whole time. Thank you for that perk. So there's the problem. That is probably more of a problem on my exact setup because I'm using very lightweight propellers and I'm using very powerful motors. And so when you've got a powerful motor and a lightweight propeller, they have really quick response time. And so they can speed up and slow the propeller down very quickly. So what's happening here is that the AIO is vibrating on the pitch axis. You'll see it in a second. The AIO is vibrating on the pitch axis. The response time is so quick on these motors, and the PID loop's job is error correction, that the PID loop is trying to fix the vibration that it's seeing on the AIO. The PID loop doesn't know what's going on. It's got a gyro that detects motion, and then the PID loop's job is to keep that gyro stable. Well, when that gyro is on an AIO that's bouncing up and down on the pitch axis, it's going to try to fix that. And so when the AIO moves upwards, vibrates upwards, the rear motors push and the front motors break down to try to fix that. And then when it vibrates down, the front motors spin up and the rear motors brake to try to fix that. But it can't fix it because the AIO is just going to do everything has a resonant frequency, and we are finding the AIO and the whole system's resonant frequency. You can't fix that with power. It's going to actually make it worse. And that's why when I'm at zero throttle, it's trying to fly away. The whole build is finding, and the AIO is finding this resonant frequency, and then the PID loop is feeding back into that. And the response time is so good from this powerful motor and lightweight propeller that it's just doing this. And that's what you're hearing. It's literally what you're hearing. It's vibrating back and forth to try to fix the AIO's vibration, which is never going to happen. The AIO is not going to stop vibrating. What's really funny is if we went to a much smaller, much less powerful motor and or a heavier propeller, the mechanical system would not be able to spin up and slow down the motors fast enough, and the problem wouldn't be as bad because it would literally like try to push this way and then it wouldn't be able to compensate the other way. So when you have a build with a lot of power, this is why the PID tuning and the filter tuning becomes more difficult, because the mechanical system has a quicker response time. And so if you're trying to go aggressive, if you're trying to go aggressive on your PID tune, you can't, because the mechanical system is already aggressive. And so this is also why when you add more powerful motors, sometimes you have to back your tune off, because you're basically boosting the tune by going to a lighter weight propeller or a more grunty, quicker response time motor. Make sense? If it doesn't make sense, just keep watching. It will make sense. A little bit of that made sense. And as you watch more and more stuff will kind of fall into place. So let's take a look at that black box tune. That black box log, rather. So I'm going to call this clean V2 clean, because that's after the filtering. All right. So we're going to connect. We're going to go to black box. And now this log is tiny because I was only able to keep it on for a split second. Activate mass storage. All right. It's putting it up there for some reason. So we're going to open this. And so we've just got that one log file. Let's pull it over. Copied quick because it's so small. We're going to eject. We're going to pull power from the quad. We're going to reapply power. Come back into Betaflight. Connect. Black box. Erase flash. Yes, erase flash. Get info. Unlock it. And then I'm going to steal this name and just copy and paste it, but instead of clean, I'm going to put dirty. Not see dirty, just dirty. There we go. All right. So now we frame swap this thing, but before we do that, I want to show you these black box logs super quick. Betaflight Black Box Explorer, or you can use the web-based one. And now it's telling me that my version is out of date. That's okay. We're going to grab the clean log and we're just going to drop it in. And so here's what we're most interested in. We're going to come up here to overlay and we're going to view the analyzer display. It's the third icon here that's not on by default. And that's going to give us this nice little guy here. Now we're going to zoom into this analyzer window. All right. On our workspace, we're going to go to noise plots. UAV Tech has a video on how to get your Black Box Explorer set up properly. I'm not going to dive into that, but we're going to look at his noise plots workspace. All right. Now, this is the clean log here, so it doesn't look that bad. What we're interested in is gyro scaled. Gyro scaled is the raw noise coming out of the gyro. Gyro roll, this is after the filtering. And then we're also interested in pitch scaled. Gyro scaled pitch, raw gyro data, gyro pitch after the filtering. When you go between gyro scaled and gyro, you get to see what your filtering is doing, to see if your filtering is helping. In this case, the problem is not on roll. Here's the roll, gyro scaled. Here's the gyro roll. It's very quiet. I can just tell you that those are pretty quiet. On the pitch, we're going to have a little bit more noise. This is straight out of the gyro. This is after the filters. We can see that our filters are working really well. Even on gyro scaled, though, this is not much. This is totally fine. As you can see, that first battery that I flew it around, that was this. That was the log I took here. It was flying around totally fine, right? This is a little bit of noise, but it's a totally acceptable amount of noise. Watch this. We're looking at the pitch gyro scaled, right? This is the clean log with that notch filter in there. Here's the dirty log. I know it's not as wide, but we don't really care as much about the width. We care about the verticality of this. This is a disaster. And then, so this is gyro scaled on pitch. Here's regular gyro on pitch. Our filters are not working. The filters are not doing hardly anything for this. The filters that are hitting this, because I turned that notch filter off, it's the dynamic filter. And so the dynamic filter is taking us from this raw gyro to this post-filter gyro. So it's doing a little bit, but it's not doing nearly enough. When we then add the notch filter in, we go from this to this. And this is fine. This red line, this is showing us where the max motor noise is. This is not the vibrations. The vibrations are all down here. And so this is the problem. And the big tip-off when I first figured this out is that this is gyro scaled on pitch. Here comes gyro scaled on roll. It's fine. The roll axis is completely fine, but the pitch axis is a disaster. And that's what tipped me off to it being that front mounting point being removed. Putting the notch filters on, like, it's not ideal, but we're balancing durability with flight performance here. If removing this front mounting point gets us a massive increase in durability, but we have to put a little notch filter on there, which gives a little bit of additional latency, that's fine by me, man. Like, that is a totally acceptable trade-off. Because, again, like those notch filters, we can, when we look at this, right, this is a fairly narrow band of vibrations here, right? It's going from, I gotta zoom out a little bit. If you hold shift in here, it'll tell you up top what the frequency is. So this is really bad, right? This is really tall and it's horrible and it makes the thing fly away, but it's not a wide band of vibrations. And so for us to put a notch filter on it, we're not going to cause that much extra latency. So if we look, this is from basically 160 hertz down to 120 120 or so. So that's pretty narrow. It sucks that it's below 200 hertz. We try not to put filters below 200 hertz because below 200 hertz is the frequency that the quad has when it's moving around. Sometimes if you have really high rates, you can spin the quad close to 200 hertz. I have lower rates, but still, there's nothing we can do. Like, we have to put a notch filter on here. But it's a pretty narrow little filter that we're going to be able to drop in there, so it's not going to cause much latency, and it's not going to have much effect on the way the thing flies. Again, that first battery that I flew with the notch filter, it flew totally fine, right? So that's the deal. We've got our log of what it does in this frame. Now we're going to pull it out of this frame and swap it and see what happens. See if there's any impact on that. While we're doing that, we're going to weigh these 3 frames, and we're going to talk about durability. In the chat, if you have experience with any of these 3 frames, AIr75 V2, NBD Cockroach75 LiteAF, or Mobula7 V4, type it into the chat or into the comments if you're not watching this live. My personal experience with the Mobula7 V4 frame is that it's outrageously durable, like hysterically durable. It will eventually break, but boy, does it take a lot of abuse before it blows up. Really, really, really impressive frame. It does have relatively tall ducts on it, and so it is a little bit of a slower frame, which is not necessarily what we want outside until we duck down into like our garden and are ducking and weaving in between, you know, branches and bushes and stuff like that. And so the Mobula7 V4 frame is absolutely going to be slower than these other 2 frames because of the height of the ducts. Right, this is the Mobula7 V4, big tall duct. This is the LiteAF, much less tall of a duct. This is the AIr65 V2, even thinner of a duct, right? And so this is going to be a slower frame, but if you want, some people will want that. Some people really want the super accuracy of a slower frame. That Mobula7 frame is going to be a lot better for me trying to fly around inside the house in a minute. So if you're flying your 1.6-inch whoops in areas that are really tight with a lot of turns and twists and little gaps and stuff like that, the Mobula7 V4 frame might be the one for you. These frames are all like $4, $5. You kind of might as well just get one of each and try them for yourself. But the differences between them are relatively subtle, and so hopefully I can kind of clue you in to those differences so that it helps you decide a little bit more, because a lot of folks will, you know, follow my advice, buy one of each of something, and then I'll get a message like, I can't tell the difference. I'm like, yeah, not surprising. It's tough. It is very tough to tell the difference between certain things. And so hopefully I can kind of help you with that, you know, guide you towards some of these differences, and then you know what to try and kind of feel for, right? Cool. So we're out of this frame. Let's get the AIO up and out of here. Durability on the Cockroach75 LiteAF, I have no idea. I've never run it before. I have heard that it's pretty durable, though. Durability on the AIr75 V2. Reddit seems to think that it's not durable at all. Reddit doesn't know what the hell it's talking about. It's worse than Facebook groups, I think, sometimes. I have heard that this AIr75 V2 frame is relatively durable. Durability is tough, right? You take one of these out with a really heavy set of motors and you fly it in 0-degree weather, you better believe you're going to break that frame, right? You put a light set of motors and a light set of components on it, and you fly it not like a lunatic in 80-degree weather, it's probably going to last forever, right? And so durability is kind of tough. My guess is going to be that the Mobula7 V4 frame is the most durable, because we're going to see in a minute that it's probably the heaviest. It's got the thickest ducts here, which should take the most abuse. But look, again, these frames are $4 each. Get them and try them. Every single one of us is going to have get a different durability result, because we build these things different. We crash them different. We crash them into different materials, right? Some people crash into the grass. Some people crash into the concrete, and everything in between. So durability is really, really, really difficult. Let's get some weights. Let's continue to beef up the FPV weights document that I've got going here. So frames. We've got Happy Model Mob7 V4 with screws. And then we've got Newbie Drone LiteAF 75 with screws. And then we've got BetaFPV Air75 V2 with screws. All right, cool. Scale. Out. On. Air75 V. The reason that I'm running these weights with screws is because different frames have different thickness motor mount plates. And so certain frames you can run shorter screws, certain frames you have to run longer screws. And the screws are a significant part of the weight. So Air75 frame with screws is 4.5 grams. Mobula7 V4 with screws, 6.1. Big difference in weight. And then Cockroach75 LiteAF with the correct number of screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Come on. 9, 10, 11, 12 of these little itty bitty screws that it uses. Ooh, 3.8. Look at you. 3.7 even. The scale's settled down. Wow, okay. Newbie Drone coming in hot with a really lightweight frame. That would lead me to believe that this is probably going to be the most fragile of these three frames. Maybe not. You never know. Frame design is super, super confusing. You can, every once in a while, have something that's significantly lighter but more durable because it's engineered better. But yeah, let's test some of these batteries. BetaFPV. Oh, farts. Okay, so BetaFPV Lava V2 480, and then we've got BetaFPV Lava V2. What's the next one up? 580, right? Yeah, 580. And then we've got BetaFPV Lava V2 680. Cool. And then BetaFPV Lava 450. And then the 550. Come on. And then BetaFPV, oops, BetaFPV regular old school 550. And then we got tiny whoop 450 with plug. And last but not least, we bleed 450. Okay, battery weights. Here we go. Let's tear the scale out. we're gonna weigh this charged 480 because they're heavier when they're charged. Anybody just listening to this, I'm shaking my head no. Electricity does not weigh anything. 12.6 grams for the Lava V2 480. I gotta put that back on the charger. And then we've got the, let's go to the Weebleed battery next, because, yeah, 12.4 for the Weebleed battery. Okay. And then we've got Lava V2 580, which is 14.1. Lava V2 680. Ooh, what a porker. 16.2. We've got the Tiny Whoop 450 with the plug. 11.5. That is light. I hate dealing with the plug, but you can't argue with the weight. Lava V1 450. 12.6. Same exact as the Lava V2 480. Let me guess. The 550 is going to be the same as the 580, isn't it? Nope. Almost. 14.0. And then the old school blue and white 550. I wish I had one of the old school 450s, but I don't. 14.3. I don't think that these old school ones are folded cell. I think these are rolled cell. I could totally be wrong about that. There we go. There are some battery weights for you, friends. And the frame weights. So, first frame swap is going to be to the Mobula7 V4. Let me, while I'm screwing screws in, let me try to work through the chat. Hold on. Where was I in the chat? There's CiottiFPV telling us that his AIr75 V2 frame has taken a beating and it's holding up well. Chef Bruno says, to me, the 480 to 680 Lava 2 fits pretty snug, it seems. At least mine is. Yeah, it fits perfect, in my opinion. You want the batteries to fit snug in these frames because otherwise they're going to wobble all around. Speaking of the Mobula7 V4 frame, and it's going to drive you completely mad if you're anything like me. So, speaking of how the batteries fit, we're going to, again, use these 480s to test the fit. This is a Mobula7 V4 frame that I have prepped a little bit. And so we're going to put this battery in here. And even though I've prepped this frame a little bit, there you go, you can see it. The battery moves around a little bit. The battery bay on this frame is a little bit bigger. The way that I prep this frame is I add a little bit of E6000 to the corners. Look at the corners here of the bottom supports. So the weak point of this Mobula7 V4 frame is this piece right here. This piece of plastic that goes across. It holds the top of the battery. This will break. And so what you do is you take your E6000 and on those angles, right? There's two of those supports front and back. So there's 4 90-degree angles. You just round it out with a little bit of E6000. It takes 5 seconds to do. So you just take your E6000, put a little blob on all 4 of those corners. And so what that does is it strengthens it up quite a bit. It makes that a lot stronger. If you want to be an overachiever, you can put some on the bottom as well. Did I do that on this one? It looks like, I don't know if I did that on this one. It's not as much of a weak point on the bottom, but yeah, you kind of might as well. But that's what breaks off that little thing. And so what's cool is by making it stronger, by putting the E6000 here, you also make the battery bay a little bit tighter. And so the batteries fit in here even better when you do that. On this one, I didn't do it quite enough, and the battery is still kind of wobbling around. But the battery is not like falling out. Like if you don't do that, the battery will fall out of there. So that's a super quick little thing you want to do to prep these Mobula7 V4 frames. Like I said, it just takes a second, no big deal. Is it annoying that you have to do that? Absolutely. But when this frame was made, there were batteries that were bigger, and so they made the battery bay a little bit bigger to accommodate those other bigger batteries. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of tech for you. Let me switch this camera out while I'm in here. Hey Ryan says, are we talking about the black or blue Geppo RC1002s? Does it matter? Is one newer or older? I only know of the black and blue ones. I don't know of any all black ones. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. There it is. These are the Geppo RC1002 25,000s. These are the only ones I'm familiar with. Do they have an all black one, it sounds like? That's kind of cool. Ah, there we go. Okay. Swapping this camera out real quick. Does it matter is the other part of your question. Maybe, maybe not. I've not used the other one. It sounds like there is another one. I've not used it, so I don't know. In theory, it shouldn't matter, but that never pans out. Sometimes motor manufacturers will just change the bell design to make a motor better looking to try to sell more. Sometimes they'll change the motor while they're at it to try to make it perform better at the same time. Technically, if the motor is the same stator size and the same KV, it should perform exactly the same. But boy, can we not make sweeping generalizations like that in FPV. It's just, you know, it never works to make a generalization like that. We always end up with our feet in our mouths when we do that. So yeah, maybe not. Since this new canopy is black, I'm going to switch over to a black ORT micro V antenna. Let me just make sure it's the exact same length and everything. Is this one of mine? It's not. This one's longer. All right, we're not going to switch the antenna. We're going to leave the white antenna on here because I want the weight to stay exactly the same. No, here's a black one. I've got one right over here, don't I? Yep, there's one. Cool. Okay. Get this antenna put through here, get it plugged in, and then we're going to pop this into the other frame. And Jesus, I cannot see these UFLs worth a damn anymore. To get these things plugged in properly, I really need the magnified headset for like everything that I do nowadays. I don't want the antenna running below that. I want it running above that. Pay attention to your cable routing. It does absolutely matter, especially on a tiny whoop when you start smacking into stuff. If you've got like your UFL antenna wire running under or over the camera wire, it's going to crash a little bit different in both of those scenarios. So just like pay a little bit of attention to that. All right, that's looking good. Let's get this dropped into the frame. Okay, one of the other really annoying things about the Mobula7 V4 frame is that this little area here where you have to pass the BT 2.0 through is it's a little bit too tight for the big BT 2.0, and you gotta kind of push on it a little bit, which always freaks me out. Other than that, I love the Mobula7 V4, but I would love for one of these two other frames to be just as good, if not better, because this is an old school frame. And again, these are outdoor rigs. We don't necessarily want this big, tall duct on these outdoor rigs. I love the way these things fly outside with the thinner ducts on them. They're faster, they're going to be more efficient, less prop wash. All good things. This is more of like a Cinewhoop frame right here, where you're going to fly slow and really accurately. But that's not how I fly these things outside. I don't fly them like Cinewhoops outside. All right, before more of these screws fall out, let me plop these motors in here. Sporny says, did some whooping again for the past few days. Mobula 8 throttles up, went upside down. Can't remember if that was a common thing or a tuning issue. The first step is going to be, when did it start, right? When did that behavior start? If you don't know the answer to that, an easy button to try to figure out if it's a tuning thing is going to be to grab your master multiplier and turn it way down. If the master multiplier is at 1.0, crank it down to at least 0.8, if not like 0.7 or 0.6. It's going to fly different, but see if the behavior goes away or gets worse. And that's a quick, easy way of being able to tell if the issue is from PIDs that are... if it's a tuning issue, right? Isn't it an issue of the PIDs being too aggressive or not aggressive enough? And then alternatively, grab the master multiplier and move it up. Move it up to 1.3, 1.4, see if it gets better or worse. That's a place to kind of get started. When I have weird issues, the first thing I do is change props. That's always like the super easy button for like step number one. Make sure the props aren't banged up. Even when you don't think that that's the issue. When you don't think that's the issue, that's always when it's the issue. So change the props first. While you're changing the props, spin the motors up in the motors tab to see if you have any motor shafts that are bent, right? Just as like a preventative thing, just like do that. And that'll get you started down the road. Props in versus props out. I find that props in performs so much better on whoops in so many like dive off throttle kind of situations, of which being upside down is one. So you can try that. If you're props out right now, you can try going to props in. If you're already props in, it's probably not the issue, but something to kind of think about when you're dealing with those sorts of behaviors. What else? Whoops are aerodynamic disasters, and so like some problems can pop up that are very confusing and in some cases don't make any sense. Sometimes we just have to sort of deal with them. If you have like a very specific canopy and or frame combo that when it's upside down has like some strange swirl that's happening with the arrow, when the PID loop ramps up, it's trying to fix a problem. It's trying to fix a wobble, a vibration. It's if your sticks are centered, it's trying to keep the quad centered. It's trying to keep it from spinning or floating down like a leaf or doing some other weird behavior, right? And so it's actually a good thing, right? Because if it weren't doing that, if you were to turn air mode off at 0 throttle, it would start doing this bad behavior, which would look like the camera wobbling around or rotating or doing something strange, right? And so like, that's one of the things you always want to remember, right? Like at 0 throttle, it's trying to do something, and so that's what you're fighting against. When the motors wind up like that, they're running out of braking, right? When the air correction is doing its thing, it's going to use thrust on 2 motors and braking on the other 2 motors. And so, for example, if you're at 96 kilohertz on your ESC PWM frequency, you're killing the amount of braking that the motors are able to do. So they're going to try to do everything with thrust, which sucks. And so if you're on 96, absolutely go to 48. If any of you are still on 96, go to 48. It's so much better. If you're having this problem and you're still on 40 and you're on 48, try going to 24. 24 is going to give you significantly more motor braking. You're going to sacrifice a little bit of thrust and a little bit of efficiency, but maybe you already have enough thrust and enough efficiency, right? And so 24 kilohertz PWM is another thing to kind of try, just to give the system more access to braking than trying to do everything with thrust. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can try, actually. CMYK is in the house. He says, what's up, dude? What's up, gangly gang? Uke says, gotta catch a nap. Work 73. Have a good one, guys. I'll be testing those Weebleed 340s tomorrow. Ooh, that's really cool. I'm hoping to get my hands on some of them soon. Give them a shot. All right, plugging these motors in. Shit. I forgot. I gotta get the, let me get the canopy screws in first. Danzilla the Terrible's in the house. He says, hello. Zach is doomed by the bell. Says, Mobula V4 is my personal favorite. It's the only frame that fits well with the Project Topspin motors, without spacers at least. So that's another thing. The duct height, the height where the motor is mounted to where the duct is, matters. Good call. I forgot about that one. Yeah, there's more than meets the eye to some of these frames. All right, let me get this canopy on here. So we've got this is a fresh canopy, so it's gonna fight me. But don't worry, I'll win. Hold on. AilTop1GG says, I broke my AIr75 Mark II frame in 4 spots within 1 day because I upgraded my drone so much to the point that it has too much power for some reason. I also like 96 kilohertz way more than 48. If you were building it to have power, which it sounds like you were, it's not surprising that you like 96 better. 96 is going to make more power and it's going to be more efficient, but it has significantly worse braking, so the flight characteristics are going to be worse. If your PID tune is not all that aggressive, or if the build is really clean, it might not make that much of a difference because you might not need that braking. But yeah, everything is sort of cross-related. But regardless, 48K is always going to give you more braking. And in a second, I'm going to show you what that braking will do, which is kind of nice. In the way that these things kind of react and the way that they rotate when you do flips and rolls. But right now, I've almost got this canopy in a place where I can put one of these screws. There it is. Hold on. Ah! Get in there. These banana hammock canopies are very annoying to deal with. I love that they're lightweight, but they are very annoying to live with. There we go. I got one of those screws in. With less motor braking, if you do a front flip, it's going to do a front flip like this because the front motors aren't really able to brake much. On 24K, it's going to do a front flip like this. It's going to do a front flip on its own axis because the front motors are going to have more braking force. On 48K, it's going to be somewhere in between. And so from an accuracy when flying perspective, you know, it's even worse when you're doing a roll, right? You're about to shoot a tight gap and you want to do it inverted. On 96K, if you do a roll, it's going to roll like this and you're going to miss the gap. Whereas on 24, it's going to roll on its own axis and you're going to still make the gap. So when I say, I usually use the word flight characteristics. The flight characteristics are better on the lower PWM frequencies because you have more motor braking, and the motor braking allows these things to rotate on their own axis, which is more accurate and more what you expect in the goggles when you're flying as a pilot. If you're building something just to have max power, then who cares? You're not going to use that engine. You're not going to use that motor braking, and it doesn't matter. Make sense? All right, almost got this canopy. No, get back there, you fucker. Ugh! So goddamn annoying. Stay there. Stay there. Stay. Come on, man. Bastard. All right, let's try this. Try to put it through the canopy first and then pick it up. Nope, that ain't gonna work. I would do this on the down-facing camera, but I know some of you have PTSD with this, and so I won't trigger that. There we go. I got it. With these banana hammock canopies, after you've mounted them a couple times, this is a lot easier. Once they've been mounted for a while, they kind of remember the shape that they should be in, and this becomes a lot easier. It's just on the first go-around, this is incredibly frustrating. There we go. 3 out of 4. Last one coming up, which is the rear. To set the up tilt, I'm going to use the farthest rearward screw hole for the least up tilt. And get in there, you. Ah, there we go. All right, cool. Canopy is screwed down. Let me just hit these one more time to make sure that they're tight. 1, 2. One of the things I am worried about now that the AIO is not mounted to that front post in these frames is that when you run these canopies, we're going to start breaking that front post off a lot more. On my Etsy store, I sell extended canopy screws, which will help that situation quite a bit. I have not used them yet because I want to see. I want to break some of these front posts and see how long it takes. But if you don't want to, find out the hard way, feel free to get some of those extended Tiny Whoop canopy screws from over at CiottiFPV.com on my Etsy store. All right, there we go. We got the micro V in there. We swapped out the camera. I got to plug in these motors. That'll help, won't it? And then we're going to try the Mob7 V4 frame. See if that vibration peak moves around at all. And then I'm gonna show you how to drop the notch filter on that. That's gonna be the thing that if you're gonna do a custom build with this Matrix AIO, this is what you're gonna need to know. You're gonna need to know exactly what I'm about to show you. I did it a couple live streams ago with this build, but now I'm doing it again. It's not that hard. You do this AIO luckily has black box, and you're gonna need the black box that it has. So thank God they put black box on this AIO, because without black box you kind of can't do this. Without black box, you're literally just closing your eyes and pointing at numbers in hopes that you'll find one that improves the situation. So we are in this frame. This frame has now added. We've gone from a 4.5 gram frame to a 6.1 gram frame. And we've gone from very thin ducts here to very thick ducts. We've also changed the motor mounting height. The V4 frame has the motors mounted very shallow. So if you're using a motor that's very short, like the top spin motors, this V4 frame is nice because the propeller is going to ride. I want you to look right here. The tip of the propeller is riding right perfectly center on this duct. On these other two frames, the motor is mounted lower. I'm holding this upside down because I don't want these screws to fall out. Okay, I'm good. The motor is mounted lower. Can you see that? Look at the motor mounting point between these two. Why am I holding them sideways? Okay. See that? Well, that's focusing on my big dumb face. Hopefully you can see that. But yeah, the AIr75 V2 frame has the motors mounted farther down. It looks like the Cockroach LiteAF frame has the motors mounted more shallow. So if you're running a really short motor, can you guys see that? I hope you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. If you're running a very short motor top to bottom, the LiteAF frame is going to be a better bet than the AIr65 V2 frame. These GEP-RC 1002 motors, they're not super shallow. They're also not super tall. This would really matter if you were going to run like a 1003 or an 1103. That's a motor that's a full millimeter taller. And so a frame that's really shallow, like this Mobula7 V4, the propeller in some cases will be above the duct, which you don't want. Although it's worse for the propeller to be too low than too high. I will say that. So we're all plugged in. The motors are going to all spin the right direction. Let's see if this thing rockets off into outer space. I have a feeling it's gonna. But we'll try to get a quick log as it's doing that and compare the where that peak is in the black box log. Cool? Pray for me, friends. Here we go. Mobula7 V4 frame. Much easier to put the battery in there, but the battery does move around just a little bit. It shouldn't be too much, though. I'm going to put it on the ground because I have a feeling that I'm going to have to disarm this thing pretty quickly. This camera that I just swapped in looks awful. It's okay. Why are the motors not spinning the right direction? What the hell? I think that this might have been props out, and I didn't even realize that. Damn it. Let me look in Betaflight real quick to confirm that. I am not going to change it to props in. I will change the propellers so that it remains props out. Because going from props in to props out could change things, right? We don't want to change anything here in the testing. So connect, and then motors, and no, it's props in. What in the hell? That's weird. Whatever. I must have reversed the motors exactly wrong. That's super weird. That's okay though. It's we're staying props in. The propellers are on right, so I don't have to remove the propellers. So let's just get them swapped around here. Wizard, start and spin. Motor 1 is wrong. Click it to reverse it. Motor 2 is right. Motor 3 is wrong. Click it to reverse it. Motor 4 is correct. Okay, good to go. That was strange. I assumed that these GEP RC motors were not directional, so I didn't pay much attention, but apparently they are. All right, we're good now, though. All's well that ends well. Let's see if this thing flies away. It should. It should fly away. Plugging it back in, and here we go. This camera is very front focused. You can see the ducts are in crisp focus, but then everything else is not. So, oh wow, it's fine. Okay, let's get a log. Well, shit, I'll go upstairs and get a proper log. Wow, I'm blown away. Here we go. We're logging. Something about the AIr75 V2 frame is interacting with the AIO to make the situation worse. I'll be really interested if there's probably still going to be that peak. But it's not going to be all the way up in the red like it was because this is flyable. All right, and now we're not logging anymore. Ooh, this camera also is kind of warping the world a little bit vertically. So again, on this frame, it's got these really tall ducts, which makes it a lot easier to fly inside. It holds its line a lot better. It's not as slidey, which is nice. I can't believe that this thing is flyable in this frame. I can't believe how much more grippy it is in this frame too. Oh, I was wondering if I was going to drop it in that little gap there. Uh-oh. So there you go. If you want your 1.6-inch prop whoop to have more grip in the corners and to track a lot straighter, this is absolutely the frame for it. I don't think I've ever back-to-backed this frame with one of these with the thin ducts from like battery to battery like this to notice this is so different. That's wild. I love that. I really, really, really like that. Damn. There we go. That was one of the big things that I wanted to kind of myth bust a little bit in the stream today. Like I'm definitely interested in the black box stuff, but from a flight characteristic standpoint, the effect that these taller ducts have really kind of blows me away sometimes. Like every time, I feel like every time I do this, I'm just like, man, it makes such a difference. So yeah, when I turn this thing sideways, it's got all this vertical surface area to slow it down. Whereas the frame we were just flying doesn't. It's got this tiny little slim duct, so it's just going to slide sideways. Big difference. Really, really noticeable. Cool. Let's take a look at the black box log. How are we doing on time? Shit, it's 4:46 already. I am not going to tune this one. I don't really need to. For some reason, this frame is holding that AIO in a better way, or the frame being heavier, or there's something going on with this frame. Is the AIO maybe sitting against the plastic of the frame or something? No, it's not. The AIO can move in there. That's wild that this frame, that it's like almost fine in this frame. We're gonna see in a second. Activate mass storage device mode. It's gonna mount on your hard drive here. There we go. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. Where did it go? Why would you do that? Look at the size of these real quick. One of them is... Why are there two? 3 million bytes. Nah, 12,000 bytes. That ain't the one. It's the second one. It's almost always the last one. Grab that. Pull it over here. Let it copy. All right. Done copying. Unplug the quad. Plug it back in. Connect to Betaflight. Black box. Erase flash. Yes. While that's going. Get info. Unlock it. All right, so this is Mob7 V4 frame dirty because we don't have that notch filter. It's done here, disconnect, and now I'm done with this. I'm not going to custom tune this, but we are going to take a look. So here's the AIr75 V2 frame dirty without the notch filter. Yeah, no, there's no way that notch filter just magically turned back on. It just, that's not how things work. This is gyro scaled pitch. This is the big problem here that we're looking at. And now here comes the exact same thing in the Mob7 V4 frame. Unbelievable. It's just gone. You know, we do have this big lump here, which is not great, but this is fine. As we can see, it flew totally fine. Let's take a look at, this is gyro scaled. This is the raw gyro data. Let's see what the dynamic notch only. We don't have a static notch here. We just have the dynamic notch, just like on the other tune. Let's see what the dynamic notch is doing. Ready? Here comes the gyro pitch after the filtering. Bang. That is awesome. That is a totally flyable rig, as we just saw. It was completely flyable. That's wild. Wow. Okay. So, yes, removing the front mounting point is creating... Okay, so check this out, right? Removing that front mounting point is absolutely going to make it worse on pitch. And here's how you know. Ready? Here's where we're looking at pitch, gyro scaled on the really cleaner, the much cleaner frame. Here comes roll. Watch, this is going to be... Wow, roll versus pitch are very similar. Maybe removing that front mounting point doesn't... From this, it doesn't look like removing that front mounting point makes much of a difference. It looks like the AIr75 V2 frame is just very noisy on the pitch axis. Or a combination of removing that front mounting point and the AIr75 V2 frame is very noisy on that pitch axis. I'm going to, as quick as I possibly can, get this into the Cockroach75 LiteAF frame to back that up and see if that's the deal. If it's really noisy in the LiteAF frame, then that will back up the thought process of the removing that front mounting point, causing a lot more vibrations on the pitch axis. If it performs like this frame, that tells us that the AIr75 V2 frame has issues on the pitch axis, which I'd mentioned previously could be because of the way the battery is held. This frame holds the battery very narrow, and so the battery might be what's vibrating around on the pitch axis. This Mobula7 V4 frame, yes, it holds the battery here very narrow, but then these points are farther out. And so this is probably keeping the battery from vibrating on the... It's definitely keeping the battery from vibrating on the pitch axis. The LiteAF frame supports the battery all the way out here. So as long as the batteries fit good in here, which they don't fit terrible, but they do move around a little bit. Yeah, that could be the deal. Quad 66 saw some of this on the AIR65 V2 frame, the smaller version. And his theory was exactly that. His theory was that the battery is vibrating on the pitch axis. Hold on, I'm gonna keep these motors in the right position so that I don't have to I don't have to put this back into beta flight. What BetaFPV is potentially doing here again is saving weight, like we talked about. Having that battery bay hold the batteries more narrow is going to save a little bit of plastic weight, and so then we have to do a little bit more work on our side, getting that notch filter dropped in. There are worse things. Admittedly annoying. God forbid you try to use that frame on an AIO that does not have black box. That's going to suck. So, yeah. Looks like that's sort of a common issue, let's call it, on the Air V2 frames. They're super lightweight, but that comes at a cost, as usual. Things being super lightweight almost always comes at a little bit of a cost in fragility. Abel Top 1G says broke. Oh no, we got that. We talked about that one. Frank Dr. Nicholas says, if you need... I have a couple extra Mobula7 V3 frames. I paid about, in clear, I paid about $5 each. Rotor Riot still has them in stock for $4.50. There we go. Let's go buy out all of Rotor Riot's Mobula7 V3 frames. At some point, I might bug you, Frank, but right now I'm good. I think I've got... so I just bought these two black ones. And I think I might have one extra clear one. Or no. I have two builds with the clear ones. I'm selling a 2S 75mm build with one of the clear frames. But I've got the build that I'm keeping that is in one of these clear frames. So I'm good. I've got 3 total, which is all right. but I might actually snag one of those from Rotor Riot because $5 is a good deal. Okay, Mobula7 V4 frame is out. I'm going to switch this camera back because this one is significantly out of focus. Okay, get this antenna out of here. All right, switching back to the Weebleed Bleed Eye. I'd love to switch this over to the CO3. Let's do that. I'm going to switch this over to the brand new CO3 that I just got. So what we're about to see is if you go on Weebleed FPV, right? Sorry, not Weebleed. If you go on to Fly High right now and you order a CO3 camera, you're about to see what you're going to get. Okay. Hold on. Let me just do this real quick. Sporny says, Mobula 8 is completely fresh, props in, but it's a heavy MFer, so I didn't expect it to behave like a normal freestyle rig. Wasn't the point of it anyway. So if it's in a Mobula 8 frame, I bet you it's an aerodynamic disaster. The duct supports on the Mobula 8 frame are just dumb. They're just big, wide, flat bastards, which is terrible. So I bet you that's the issue. I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing an analog Mobula 8 build very, very soon, so I might have the same issues. I'll let you. You'll get to see it. Here we go. CO3 from Fly High. Fly High current stock CO3 camera going in. Oh boy, am I going to be able to see what I'm doing here? Probably not. Come on, get over there. Okay. Ooh, got these itty bitty little screws. I'm not gonna fly this outside though. Maybe I can just point it outside the back door to see how it looks in bright light. You'll get when I fly it around in here, you'll get to see it in low light. All right, so yeah, current gen, currently available Fly High CO3 coming up. Somebody in a comment from the last live stream said when they paused it, the chips on the back of this CO3 that I just got might be the new one. Why is this camera not tight in here? What's happening? Did I just not screw this down enough? The answer is yes. I just didn't screw it down enough. Okay. Got the camera, got the AIO. Now we're going into the LiteAF 75mm frame. I'm going to go AIO first, and then I'm going to go motors, and then I'm going to put the camera and canopy on. So, AIO, and now motors. Okay, so this frame, front to back, we got motor 1. Put you in here first. 1 second, I'm going to look down at the chat and grab another thing to talk about. But Whoop Fox just got back from first test flight with a Caillou Mini, just a ripper. Also, Monday's stream, no, the RC and Power 12 2.5, 11,500 do not come with motor plugs, but I crimped some on. Oh my god, you crimped them on? Are you out of your mind? How did you bought the tool? How did that go? I always assumed that those, them being so small, it would be a complete nightmare. If you tell me that it's not, I might be willing to get the crimp tool and the little crimpy boys and show you guys how to do it. Depends on how much that tool is. If the tool is $100, it's not. I don't think it's really worth it, because there are a lot of motors with the with motor plugs, and a lot of these motors have the pads, and so you can just solder on your own. You can buy the motor plugs with the connectors crimped on, and then just solder them at the motor, which is not all motors you can do that though. DeGhoul says full throttle NBD LiteAF75 802 27000 Hummingbird AIO BI V2 cam Goober canopy. It'll be. I'm guessing you're giving us some durability data on the LiteAF frame in here. But you said full throttle. When Tiny Whoop plastic frames plus full throttle, I think you can break any of them. That's tough. What I'm mostly concerned about is like, you know, I was flying in my basement and crashed from 6 feet and it broke. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking for these things to be like a total mess. Full throttle crashes with a plastic frame, boy, that's a lot to ask. Especially when you consider that like at any moment it feels like you can crash exactly wrong and break everything. You know what I mean? So that's tough. The full throttle crashes are always like, well, it's tough to judge by that. These itty bitty newbie drone screws I love because they're lightweight, but I hate right now when I have to try to get them through the frame and into the motors. Temporary pain though. Zoc says front right motor on Mobula7 X14 AIO stutters / fails post crash, swapped motors, flashed ESCs, checked continuity on multimeter, all good. On throttle, ESC reboots, is the AIO toast or fixable? Sounds like it's toast. When you say that you switched the motors, did the problem move with the motor or did the problem stay on the same ESC channel? If the problem stayed on the same ESC channel, you're probably donezo. But also, when did the behavior start is the biggest question that you want to ask yourself when something starts happening. Like, what's the last thing that happened? Did I stack this rig into a tree at full throttle? Well, if so, you broke it when you hit the tree. Or, you know, was it when I was dicking around with Betaflight or anything in between, right? And so when the problem began is the most powerful bit of troubleshooting that you're going to get. Levster says, hey, get in there, you. I'm doing this without the nerd goggles on, and I gotta be honest, it's very frustrating. It makes me realize how impossible this is to do without some sort of magnification. Obviously not impossible, but like, this is just taking a lot of extra time for no real reason. Dog's outside freaking out. Hopefully somebody lets him in. Bad dog. Bad boy. Don't bark. It doesn't help. This LiteAF frame is flexy. But it is LiteAF. CMYK says CiottiFPV can break it. I can break anything, damn it. Eweezy says CMYK is also good at breaking stuff. He just broke the Firestyle frame, the Firestyle build that I sent him from GamePat. He spent a couple days hammering it into concrete, and he managed to blow up the AIO. So yeah, again, tiny whoops plus full throttle hammering into hard objects. It's tough, man. Like, it's pretty wild how much abuse these will put up with. Like, you know, it's weird. Like, we expect these tiny whoops to just be invincible, myself included. If we did half the things with a carbon fiber 5-inch build that we do with these tiny whoops, right? Like, for example, full throttle crashes into concrete. We would not expect a 5-inch rig to break, right? We have this weird, like, you know, like, these are plastic. Oh, they should just keep going forever. Like, no. Like, they've got all the same components, right? There's still a camera, there's still gyros, there's still PCBs, there's still ESC, flight controller, all this stuff. Yes, the plastic frame does a great job absorbing some of that like shock that comes from hitting something really sharp. But yeah, it's important to get our expectations in line with reality sometimes with these tiny whoop builds. Like, yes, in my experience, they are infinitely more durable than the bigger stuff, but you can still absolutely break them in short order if you're hammering them into very tough objects. I think it might be because like we get used to flying them inside and crashing into nice soft pillowy carpet all the time, right? And so it kind of like messes with our perception of how much abuse they can withstand. But yeah, keep that in mind sometimes. It helps. Keep your expectations in line with reality, especially when it comes to durability. Okay, just push this down here. There we go. All right, antenna's plugged in. We got a CO3 camera going. Now let me just struggle with this. I didn't have this canopy on here for long enough that it's got like that memory as to where it should be lining up. And so I'm going to struggle with this again. Just bear with me here. Oh, come on, you fucker. Get in there. Get. Stay there. Yes. Yes. There's one. I have a funny feeling with how wobbly this frame feels that the problems might come back. And without that notch filter, this thing might try to fly away on its own. That's my hunch here. I would love to be wrong. Because the less frames that exist that we have to do like pretty serious tuning on, right? Like requiring someone to run an AIO that has black box and then get a good clean log, look at the log, figure out where the big spike is, and then drop a notch filter on that spike. That's a bit much. That's asking for a lot. There are lots of people in this hobby that, myself included, are and or were terrified of black box tuning. For good reason. It's confusing and like it feels like you can't get straight info. I mean, you can. You just got to watch the right people, UAV tech. But yeah, that's a lot to ask for somebody to do black box logs just to have a frame run properly. Is it worth it if that particular frame is really, really lightweight and really durable? Maybe. But this frame that I'm putting on here is lighter. And so that's tough. If this doesn't have that issue, unless this is super fragile and the AIr75 V2 is super durable, kind of no reason to not go with this frame. Got it. All right. Canopy is screwed down. Time is it? 5:08. Shit, I gotta go. Come on. Go. Go. This one is definitely not screwed down all the way. Come on. There we go. Come on. Go. Good. Again, CO3 camera coming up. Current generation, purchased from FlyHighFPV CO3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in. Hopefully there's somebody in the chat that saw the CO3 camera comparison that I did the other day. I'm going to plug this in and I'm going to go point it towards the sky in the backyard. Frank, I think you were on that stream the other day. Do you remember how much better the current generation CO3 that came in the AIR65 V2 was when I pointed it up at the clouds? It was basically not completely blown out. I'm going to plug this in and I'm going to open the back door real quick, and I'm going to point it up at the sky. Let me know in chat what this looks like compared to that one. Hopefully it looks exactly the same, where the sky is not absolutely, utterly blown out. Because I'm super curious. I will fly this thing outside for sure to be able to know, and I'll take another DVR of it. But I would love to know, like, right now, since we're talking about it. Oh, no, even better. No, we're good. I'm going to plug this in. I actually just put those screenshots into a folder that I have on my desktop. I'll pull those up real quick, and you can all see the difference. Even better. Never mind. Yeah, we'll be good. Okay, I'm going to do that right now. VRX, give me battery. Good battery. Yep, here you go. Make sure it powers up. Yep, here's inside. Ooh, it looks good. And here comes outside. Come on, buddy. Come inside. Come on. Teddy, come on. Inside. Thank you, buddy. Well, that was good, because he was still out there. Okay, compare that real quick. So the last bit, when I pointed it to the left, that's towards the sun. That's what these images are now taking a look at. That's pointing the same direction. So this is the current new generation CO3, not completely blown out. And then these are some of the older ones. See how awful the sky is? And then that's another one of the older ones. And then this is one of the more current ones. So this is what it hopefully did not look like. Hopefully it did look like this. If it looked like this, then what Fly High is currently selling for the CO3 is relatively current, if not super current. So if it looks like this, it's an older one. If it looked like this or that, it's a newer one. Let me know in the chat. Okay. Antenna's plugged in. Motors are plugged in. This all looks good. Let's get this battery in here and see if this thing tries to fly away on its own. And if it does, we'll take a log. I'm going to take a log no matter what. Transmitter. I have to power cycle it again. Goggles. Levster says, I came late. Is the LiteAF 75 so noisy? The frame's not noisy. The frame won't have anything to do with noise. Oh wait, no, video noise. We're about to see. I thought you were talking about video noise. No, sorry. All right, will it fly away? Yep. Hold on, get up. It's not as bad as the AIr75. All right, we're logging. Oh, don't hit the ceiling. I'm just trying to get as much log as I can. Okay, that should be enough. So, not nearly as bad as the AIr75, but still a problem. Still bad. Unflyable in its current state. So let's take a look at what frequency that is. I'm gonna drop a quick notch filter on there to show you what you're gonna need to do if you have something like this. And then I'm gonna fly the rest of this battery and then I'm out. So we've got our log. We're gonna go in here, connect to Betaflight, and we're gonna go to black box. We're gonna go to activate mass storage device mode. It's gonna pop up here as a hard drive. There it is. Open it up. Grab the most recent log file. In this case, there's only the one. 001. Copy it. Good to go. Eject. Unplug. Replug. Connect to Betaflight and erase the black box. While it's erasing, take this file that we just grabbed, get info, unlock it, and now this one is NBD LiteAF75. What have I been calling these? Dirty. We've got no notch filter on there. So we've got our file. We're gonna come in here to Black Box Explorer. So I'm gonna take the AIr75 dirty black box log and put it up, right? And we're gonna compare it to the AIr75 because the Mobula7 V4 frame was totally clean. This is the closest comparison. So here's the AIr75 V2. Here comes the Newbie Drone LiteAF. Hold on. Was I not on? I was not on pitch. I was on pitch. What? Why was it so bad? It looks fine. Tell me it's bad on the roll axis. Oh my god, it's bad on the roll axis. Ooh, that's hysterical. Okay. That's super unexpected. Okay. So that's very weird. So removing the front mounting point is actually not the issue. The AIr75 V2 frame has problems on the pitch axis. On the pitch axis, there's a horrible spike on this build. The Mobula7 V4 frame is completely fine. The LiteAF frame is fine on the pitch axis, but it's a disaster on the roll axis. And we've actually got two big ass peaks here. So we would kind of have to hit this thing with two notches. So let's figure this out here. We've got max motor noise at 178. So the center point is going to be 178. I'm just going to leave a quick note here for myself. So 178 is the middle. And then it looks like it falls off down here at, let's call it 156. So the bottom of this notch is going to be 156, and then it'll swing up 178 to 1, that's roughly 20, so it'll swing up to 198, or it'll basically swing to 200, which is not quite far enough. If you look at the top of this peak, we want it to swing up higher than this. We want it to swing up to like 220 or so. So let's put the middle at 190, and then we'll let it swing down to 155, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 55, 60, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 35, that's a 35 swing. So 190 plus 35 is 225. So it'll swing up to 225. Is that high enough? 225, that's actually a little bit too high. So we can move the bottom. Now we want the bottom to go down to, we definitely want the bottom to go down to 155. So I'm going to move the middle point to 185. 185 middle, it'll swing 30 down to 155, and then it'll swing 30 up. So 85, 95, 205, 215. Is that about right? 215? 215. Yeah, close enough. Close enough. 215 is right here. That's right there. That's close enough. So that's the bigger one. We need to add another one, though, here. 435. And if we swing it down to 400, 435 to 400, and then it'll go up to 470, and that's perfect. 435 to 400. 435 down to 400. So we're going to put these two notches on, and that's going to fix the problem. Ready? Watch this. We are now adding twice as much latency with these notch filters. They're pretty narrow filters, but we're adding a bunch. For the D-term notch, I'm going to use that for the big one. So we're going to go 185 for the center frequency. And then for the cutoff frequency, we're going to do 155. And now I'm also going to add a gyro notch filter 1 at 435 for the center and 400 for the cutoff. Save it. Leave everything else alone. Disconnect. Put a battery back on it. And it'll be flyable. Through the magic of black box. In theory. These notches are both wasted on the pitch axis. They're gonna be applied to the yaw and the pitch axis and the roll axis, which is so we're that's what, oh wow, it's way better, but it's not totally happy. Oh my god, this is light. This is as hard to fly as it was in the AIr75 V2 frame. Oh god, easy. Woo! Jesus! These Gep RC 1002 25,000s have so much power. Totally flyable now, though. Not perfect. Realistically, I would need to take another log and see how it is now. Right? We've put these notch filters on. They're going to crush those big peaks, but you always want to come back and check it again. Screw it. Let's do it real quick. I can do another log real quick. I'm not going to retune it, but just for the sake of seeing how much of an effect this had. Yeah, the battery's almost dead. All right, we got some full throttle cycles in. Let's cruise it around a little bit. Cruise, 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 cruise. Flips and rolls. Come on, one more. And then yaw. All right, let's go. Turn off the log. Bring it back down here. Yeah, every once in a while, it's just getting a little excited and just freaking out a little bit. And so you fly your battery with this is going to be the clean log, but it's not totally clean. And now look at the difference that will have made. And then we just dial it in a little bit, right? Like there's still something that's not getting taken care of. And now's when we get to see what that is. But this will be cool because we'll get to see a massive difference here. So both of these 1.6-inch prop, 75mm motor-to-motor frames have issues. And the issues are being caused in part by them being so lightweight, which is what we deal with when we save weight, is we run into some other things. It is to be expected. All right, unplug, replug, connect, black box. Let me make sure that file came across. It did. Erase. Get info. Unlock. Kill that. I'm going to copy this file name here. Select this one. Paste it on, but instead of dirty, it's going to be clean. And we can leave this connected because I'll show you what we're going to do. So this is the roll axis. This is gyro. Oh, also, I didn't show you. So this is gyro scaled on the dirty file. Here's gyro roll. I should have looked at this. So that's the dynamic filter trying to do its thing. But as you can see, it's not doing enough. So we went in and we added more filtering with those notch filters. And now watch what happens. So here's gyro scaled. This is the raw gyro. We're going to drag the clean file in, and it's going to crush those. It did a pretty damn good job crushing them. You can literally see it. Gyro notch, 435 to 400, and it draws these little lines here. And so you can literally see that it's crushing it there, but now there's still a little bit up here. So we need to shift this one up a little bit. And then here's the other one. Here's the D-term notch. And we've got these 3 very faint lines coming down, and you can see that it's crushing it here, but there's still a little bit more escaping on the top there. I'm surprised that this is pretty clean here. Let's look at, so this is on roll, gyro scaled on roll. Now let's look at post filter on roll. That's very clean. Is it on pitch? Is it now having problems on pitch? No, that looks okay. After filters, crushed down. What about yaw? Come on, yaw. Where you at? There's yaw. No, it looks fine on yaw. Interesting. I think this is still the problem here. I think I just need to move this gyro notch up a little bit or make it a little bit wider. So like, let's do that, right? So we're still plugged in. We're going to go to filter settings. And so we're going to work on this one. This is the gyro notch. This is the gyro notch filter 1. So right now it's 435 center. The cutoff is down at 400. So I want to make it a little bit higher and a little bit wider. So the center frequency, I'm going to move from 435 up to, let's call it 445. I'm going to leave that bottom cutoff. And so it's still going to swing down to 400, but now I've moved the center 10 up. And so now it's going to swing 20 higher. And hopefully that'll cover this extra little blob here. I'm going to do something similar to the D-term notch. There's a little bit on the high end escaping. So I'm just going to take that center of 185 and I'm going to move it up to 190. 185 up to 190, and that's going to swing it 10 higher. And so now that's going to be a little bit better. I'm probably not going to leave this frame on. Maybe I'll leave this frame on here. Yeah, I'll leave this frame on here. Fly this outside, see how the frame deals with outdoor bashing, and we'll take a look. But again, massive difference. Gyro scaled roll with those notch filters versus without. This is not flyable. This is. That's what we did in a couple minutes with those notch filters. Hopefully, even those of you that are afraid of tuning, which I was terrified of tuning until pretty recently, hopefully that's enough of a how-to for you to dive in. Because it's not that bad. As long as you have an AIO that's got black box on it, right? I'm blown away that this frame has issues on the roll axis. Actually, I'm not, because this LiteAF frame is significantly lighter than the AIr75 V3. And so I bet you what's going on here is that because of how the battery mounts on this frame, right, the battery mounts much more solidly. So on the pitch axis, the battery is keeping this frame from wobbling all over the place because the battery is held in 1, 2, and then in the middle. On the AIR65 frame, it's not like that. The battery is only held right in here. So on the AIR70, I said AIR65 a second ago. I meant to say AIR75 V2. So on this frame, the battery is doing this. Come on. The battery is doing this, I think. It's wobbling on the pitch axis because it's only being held in the middle. And that's what's causing the problems on pitch. But this frame is heavier and it's stronger on the roll axis. So the roll axis is not a problem on the AIR75 V2 frame. The LiteAF frame, which is significantly lighter than that, right? 3.7 grams versus 4.5 grams. The battery is holding the frame together on the pitch axis. So the pitch axis is super clean. But then on the roll axis, because it's lighter, it's very bendy. And so on the roll axis, it's flexing all over the place, and we're having to drop 2 notch filters instead of 1, which is twice the amount of extra latency. So, yeah. And all of this while using an AIO with no front mounting point that it looked like that was the problem. But now it's not, and that's a good thing. You know, that's a really good thing that that this Matrix AIO is not sitting in there wobbling all over the place. It's good that we can pick a frame that doesn't have these issues and use this potentially best AIO yet, and we don't have to worry about dropping a notch filter on there. When I put this AIO into the Mobula7 V4 frame, all was right with the world. No notch filters, no bullshit. It was totally fine. And that's what tells us that removing this front mounting point did not make this AIO something that's sitting in there vibrating on that pitch axis. And that's rad. That's a real good thing. So yeah, what do you want? Do you want the lightest possible frame, which is going to have the most filter latency? Do you want somewhere in between? Or do you want the least possible latency, but very tall ducts that are going to be slower and less slippery and slidey? This is going to be a good frame for tight flying. These are going to be good frames for fast outdoor flying. Lightest possible. Still very light, but with less filter latency. Hopefully I didn't lose everyone. In fairness, if I've lost you, we are all the way in the weeds today. This is like, we are on multiple levels, from like black box tuning to aerodynamics to flight characteristics. Like, we went all the way here today. So if you've been lost for a while, it's all good. Keep learning, keep watching. This stuff will start to make sense, and then come back and watch this again and you'll be like, oh, okay, I understand it from a black box standpoint, and then do some more learning, come back, watch again, and you go, oh, now I get it from an aerodynamic standpoint or a flight characteristics standpoint, blah, 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 blah. Cool. Eweezy says, would the Maxx M2 frame be somewhat decent on 1S 1102 22,000s? Yes, it would. It would. Ailtop says, as long as you can get your hands on the new BetaFPV 1102 22,000s, which it's impossible to tell if they're the new or the old ones, I would do the GEP-RC 1002 25,000s. Because they're a known quantity. You're going to motor limit them down a little bit, but they're a known quantity. There's no way to guarantee you that you're getting the new BetaFPV 1102 22,000s, other than maybe if you get in touch with BetaFPV and say, yo, all of the reviewers are seeing that there's a new generation of 1102 22,000s that makes significantly more power. I want to buy those. Please, only, how do I make sure that I buy this new generation? Because they're not marked different. There's no different name. Ailtop says, I feel like 48K feels twitchy. I used AIr75 Mark II race tune on my Whoop because I have 25,000 kV motors. VCI, you were right. VCIs have a lot of internal resistance. Flight time is bad. A quad feeling twitchy, you can very easily fix with stick smoothing by going with the presets. Come back to another stream, we'll talk more about it. But yeah, twitchy feelings you can very easily get rid of in the software. You kind of want that. You want a mechanical system that is quick enough to be able to be twitchy, and then you can dial it in Betaflight. Ailtop also says the AIr75 II frame really is quite tall, so even my props kind of scrape the frame. Looks like the LiteAF is also half durable, so I'll switch to that. So the props fit normally. Uriel says, can you drill holes? I can drill anything, brother. Sporty says, I found the duct effect really interesting. You need 42 times the surface area of the ducts to have the same air resistance, so basically a flying box with open props. Levster says, I came late. The LiteAF 75 so noisy. We talked about that. Zach is doomed by the bell says, have you noticed some of these frames are a little warped? M80 Mob V3 all seem to have one duct that is slightly canted. Wonder if it matters at all. It does matter. It happens during shipping. Boil a pot of water and put the frame into the boiled water and it'll flatten back out. TDB 2954 says, to me it looked like the old one. Oh, it was super blown out. Okay, thank you for that. And then we're good. Thanks for hanging, friends. CiottiFPV.com to support me. This is a lot of work doing all this testing, doing 10 hours of live streams a week. If you support me, I'll keep doing it. Cool. Patreon's the best way to support me, and if you join the $5 or up tiers, you'll be automatically entered into the giveaways tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. Buy a t-shirt, buy something from my Etsy store, book some one-on-one time with me through Fiverr, or just message me and we'll get it scheduled. Use my affiliate links. That's how you keep me doing this, so that we can keep learning this stuff and flying better stuff. Thanks for hanging, friends. Here is the, at the beginning of the stream, I played the 2-inch 2S open prop battery. Now I'm going to play the 2.5-inch. So if you want to see the difference in two rigs that weigh almost exactly the same between a small parachute and a big parachute, watch the intro for 2-inch, and now the outro is going to be 2.5-inch. What you should notice is more throw, more momentum on the opening of this live stream, more hang time and float here on the outro. Love you, bye. I'll see you tomorrow night for some giveaways.
Yeah. Out in the yard where the grass grows wild, CiottiFPV's goggles locked, grinning like a child. Teddy spaghetti's, fur flies, and jet wash dreams. Yeah. Chasing small whoops like a dog possessed fiend. Eyes on a neon blur, hard in the chase. Big fuzz and prop spin, all tangled in place. Yeah. Four-legged rebel with a rotor stir tail in the circus of the sky. They never fail. CiottiFPV, Teddy Spaghetti, dynamic duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed. They zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Yeah. Shotties on sticks, Teddy's on paws. Side by side legends breaking all the laws. Through the kitchen over couch scale terrain. Backyard mayhem in their flight domain. No ground too sacred, no loop too tight. Fuzz fuel fury ignites the night. When pilot and pup lock eyes on the prize, every whoop they conquer is a fresh cut surprise. Yeah. Yo, Shotty behind the sticks, Teddy's leading the pack. Prop guard missiles unleashed, never looking back. No leash, no map, just freestyle mic. They on the dog drone streets every day and night. Said whoops, hitting low, gotta nail the dive. Teddy push throttle up, feel the beast come alive. I see the neon arc, got the sticks locked in, Teddy. Yeah, let's rip this loop, ride the roar of the wind, Teddy. Yep. Yeah, CiottiFPV, Teddy Spaghetti, dynamic duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Teddy Spaghetti. Barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, things zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Yeah, when you hear that bar cut the rotor hum, you know Ciotti and Teddy's mission's just begun. FPV's fur-faced legends singing loud.